This program uses text-to-speech technology to read the on-screen text. For technical and creative reasons, the text and speech may not always occur together. An I-55 Films production. To light a candle. Empowering the blind.
My name is Bruna Dahal. I have been blind all my life. My family didn't know much about blindness. I was the first blind person they had ever seen or had, But what they did their best.
And can we assist you in any way today, Ms. Dahal?
I'll be fine. Whenever they would tell me, Buna, you can't do this, I would go and do it and prove them wrong. I never wanted to survive in my life. I wanted to live, and I live my life today.
My name is Julie Deaton, and I have been blind for my whole life. The word blindness had so many negative connotations to it that I tried to hide my blindness. I really limited myself because I did not want people to know that I was blind. I was ashamed of myself, ashamed of that piece of me.
I think I'd like ice skating more, really. I don't know.
It's the same type of sensation.
You have to have the same.
I tried so hard to be like everybody else, and I really wasn't. I was a blind person.
We'll have to ask as we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what we will do.
When we are traveling with blind people, and especially in our setting, we are also teaching our students how to travel effectively in that kind of environment. So we don't ask them just to hold our arm and follow us, because that's not our purpose.
In order to stay together in a very large building where there's a lot of people, where there's a lot of noise, we need to make a little bit of noise so that our group knows where we are.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
We must take full responsibility for ourselves, and that means getting in the back of the line wherever we go, just like anybody else. There's no reason for us as blind people to ever be pushed into the front of the line.
Go through the regular line
You
with
are going to go through
everybody
the
else?
regular line right here. Here's your belt here. Just follow straight.
Sure,
Stop right
great.
here, but come here.
Airport security screening area.
Alarm on right now.
Sure.
Everybody has to freeze right now.
Thank you. I hope that we are in the regular line. I don't think so.
I was about 10 yards in front of the rest of the group, and I just got in the regular line to show my boarding pass and ID.
In front of me, and I was going to just go behind him.
Yeah.
And that's when they grabbed me and pushed me to
Jerked
go
you to
a
the
different
other
way.
Basically, they made you avoid the whole serpentine thing is what they made.
They made it more complicated, really.
Well, see, they put us in front of the lines that made it a spectacle. That's what bothered me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people are looking at you like,
They can shove
What does that stand for?
blind people whatever direction they want.
Well, I agree.
They don't give us any respect and dignity. Come on. We are people just like anyone else.
Well, and I'm proof.
The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990 and really extended, for the first time, civil rights protections to people with disabilities.
Fred Schroeder, former commissioner of the Rehabilitation Services Administration.
One of the things that happens under this new law is very often organizations, particularly big ones like airlines, they think up what in their mind is the accommodation you need and then try to insist that you take it. Rather than just being available, the presumption is that it's essential and that somehow by virtue of my blindness, I now am the ward of the airline.
I understand that you have some concerns about what transpired going through the security checkpoint?
Right.
Okay. Through security, you have to be searched. You know what I mean? And because of your, what do you call these, pointers, or I'm not sure.
They're called canes.
Canes. Because of the cane, if you had come just alone, not as a group, those canes still must go through the scanner.
Right. What really the issue is we prefer to go through the line like everybody else, and we travel all the time, so that's the main issue of this today.
I understand what
that
you're
they
saying.
told us that we were in the regular line, and when we really were not, and we knew that we weren't, but we just prefer to wait.
You are sighted. I am blind. You and I go out to lunch someplace.
James Omvig, National Blindness Professionals Certification Board.
The odds are really quite high that some waiter or waitress is going to say to you, what would he like? Meaning me. You know, they won't talk to me, they talk to you for me. Now, if I let something like that distress me and blow my mind, and if I can't handle that, I'm going to have a long day every day.
And I think with blindness, that is perhaps more of a factor than the kind of overt hatred that has afflicted other groups.
Floyd Matson, late professor of American Studies, University of Hawaii.
For the most part, the blind have not been scary people in the bugaboo sense, you know. They have just been, you know, they're not like us, don't want any part of that, and so on. And so you treat them with a kind of false pity.
It's easier to travel by yourself than it is with a group. Don't you find that, Joe?
Yes, I do.
It's a lot easier to travel.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you talk to the members of any minority group about the little day-to-day expressions of discrimination they face, to the larger society, those little examples seem very trivial. And they say, oh, come on, don't be so oversensitive. Society can grasp very harsh and dramatic examples of discrimination, but the more insidious forms of discrimination are the little drops of water that, in my mind, are the ones that tear down and erode your confidence, and in many ways are at least as devastating, if not more devastating, when you think of your life in total.
There's been a couple times when I think it's mine, you know, and I grab and then I have to put it back again. That happens, but the puffy ribbon is a good idea.
Wrong suitcase for me. That's a huge duffel bag.
People don't really believe that we as blind people are equal and that we can compete in that way. People have so much fear around blindness, and they picture what would their life be if they were blind, and they just panic. We do have to prove, we must prove to everybody around us that we are capable and that we are competent people. I thought of blindness as being negative and limiting, and so I thought to myself, I'm not one of those blind people. I did finally attend a meeting of the National Federation of the Blind, and it just made all the difference in the world for me, because here were all these people. They were dynamic and they were running around. They were all using their canes, and I thought, you know what? This is the best. I can completely be myself, and it's respectable to be blind.
And the 2004 Washington Seminar of the National Federation of the Blind is in order.
The movement of the blind people is to show themselves first and then the world that it's okay to be blind, that one can even be proud of it. A convention like this brings over 3,000 people, And these people are leaders. They're successful. They do things that these kids, or at any rate, these people coming for the first time, can scarcely believe. Not just the blind trades, like chair caning, mop making, basket weaving, and for the especially bright, piano tuning. Even if you don't like it.
I learned how to weave rugs. I learned how to cane chairs, if you even know what that is. A lot of people don't know these days what that is. I learned to weave baskets. Back in that era, those were perceived to be the occupations for people who are blind. You know, we were good with our hands, you know, so we could do those kinds of tasks. And so here at the very state-funded institution that's supposed to prepare me for adult life, that's what it prepared me to do.
Real wages for real work and no exceptions. To talk with us about that for a minute.
In my view, a blind person sitting down with a counselor, that relationship is much too narrow for the blind person to really explore his or her full potential. That individual needs to know other blind people, needs to understand what the possibilities are for blind people. You have to be part of that consumer movement in order to help stretch your own thinking as an individual.
It's very important for the blind community. This organization is run by blind people, for blind people. I knew no matter what, I knew I wanted to succeed. But when you have family, friends, and a movement like this, you are even more inspired.
Blind people have an absolute right to be protected by the same minimum wage protection.
It's about being around people that are like you, that have like experiences that you are probably now going through, that support and encourage you. I think that's the best part of our organization, is that we can offer that for someone who is going through that.
I'm going to go forward.
Okay. Hey, there's a bus.
My name is Katrilla Martin. I'm a graduate student currently enrolled at the Colorado Center for the Blind.
Is there a name?
East Capitol.
East Capitol, okay. I'm sorry, Julie.
No problem.
I'm pushing Julie out into the traffic.
People, for whatever reason, they're not comfortable with blindness. Perhaps they think it's contagious. Perhaps they think it's a shame, it's a pity. Perhaps they think your parents sinned and you pay the price for that. I don't know what it is. I don't understand. I don't care to research and find out.
By the way, guys, in Denver today, we're supposed to get 8 more inches of snow.
Oh, no. I'm really glad.
I'm serious.
Friday.
Yep.
Did you hear that on the news?
Jan told me last night.
Oh, I'm really going to have snow when I ski Friday.
Okay.
With any kind of racism or anything like that, what you need to do is to go about your attempts to change the status quo at 2 different points. One is that you go after the prejudice itself, mostly through education.
No, I want to see shades on.
This is part of you, isn't it?
It is.
I agree. I agree.
But the other end of it is, of course, to work on the discrimination, the exclusion. So you go after it on the street, and you go after it up in the ivory tower as well. Education and legal change.
This is the 5th floor?
Thinking of a comeback as we speak.
Go ahead.
Yeah, 5th floor. Now, we need to find 530. Hello, how are you? What is this room number?
1536.
Oh, we want 1530.
Then turn around and go straight in that direction.
In that direction?
Straight down here?
Yes, sir.
And then just 2
Thank
doors
you.
down?
Yes, we're 1536, so it's halfway down the hall.
It will be on our right side?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
I will
guys.
wait for everybody
Diane
to get.
yeah.
You are Megan?
Yes, I'm the health LA.
Oh, great. I'm Bruna. Very nice meeting you.
Legislation, is it important? Absolutely. It's a vital piece. But it's not enough. Technology is a vital piece, but it's not enough. Good educational opportunities are a vital piece. and so on. But fundamentally, we've got to keep focused on the fact that what we're fighting is really a civil rights battle. Until fairly recently, the term for people who receive services from rehabilitation programs, the term was client. Today, more commonly, you hear consumer or possibly customer. I think it's important to see the evolution as not being just a systematic, stage-by-stage, knowledge upon knowledge building block of enlightenment. Basically, what has sparked this change has been blind people themselves battering down the door.
Let's do it.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Tom Tancredo.
Hello, sir. I'm Joe Tripoli. Great to meet you. Doing great, sir.
When we are there at the Capitol talking to our legislators, they know that we are speaking for ourselves. They know it's not that we have hired some other people to come and speak for us. We are there. We are the shoulders of the movement, not someone else.
There's one big difference in Colorado and Oklahoma. Oklahoma Congress and senators has snacks in their office. We got to convince Colorado to do the same. I'll admit, boys, she is the most dedicated woman I've ever seen with sleep shades. I know I've been here
Just use your cane and you'll be just fine.
Here you are faced with a situation where you've not completely lost your vision. You have some vision, and because of societal pressures and perceptions, blindness is viewed as like the end of everything. And you know that you still have some vision, and I think you want to hang on to that. You want to hang on and think that there's some hope that I have some vision, because blindness is not a good thing.
Oh, I got the comment again.
You got the what?
The comment.
Oh,
Pretty for a blind woman.
Oh my.
I was about to let him have it.
So this is what I said to myself. My vision in my left eye went fairly quickly. And if the vision in her right eye goes as quickly, I just thought about it one night. I knew I was blind, and in the beginning I was angry. I was angry at myself in part for having known it, but having been in denial and not getting the training that I needed, at eye specialists for telling me that my vision would never change, at the world for, well, I thought I knew how they felt about blindness, and now I was on that side. I was the one who was going to get stared at, and people were going to automatically assume that I was helpless and hopeless.
You're on the grade at the beginning of the escalators. The one on the right is stopped. This one's working though.
We're going down.
Yeah, just step forward and grab onto the handrail.
This is the first phase of the cycle. The cycle is you come in with despair and you say, well, I can't do anything. You know, I'm blind. I mean, what, are you kidding me? That's, you know what? So you start at the bad end of that cycle. And you rise up with a little bit of, almost every day, because you get into the schools, the new attitude. You can do it. No, you do it. I'm going out, and when I come back, I want to see that you've done it. I don't want to show you how. I already showed you. I don't want to do that. You do it. And so they begin to get the confidence that whatever it is, I can do it.
Okay.
Is this machine accessible? I mean,
yeah, it's talking. Yeah, it's a talking machine.
Let me show you. Then
they have a key over here, Joe.
All of the guys were there encouraging me, sort of guiding me, but at the same time letting me do it on my own. Honestly, I think had I tried to venture out on my own, and I would have came to the escalator going down, I probably would have turned around. I was only in the program at that point for 2 weeks. I remember everything being about sensation and environment, what was going on around me. Even the air seemed somewhat different. It seemed damper, colder than it was even. Different sounds, the trains running back and forth, people stepping out the trains, taking the escalator, people moving quickly when the doors open and close. That was a lot of stimulation.
Okay, guys.
Yes, because we're blind, we need some help.
What did it say?
Please give.
Well, we do have Joe with us, so.
Well, yeah, he's a disabled person just in his own right.
Multiple disabilities, have you, Joe?
That's why we can afford to hire him. We can hire him at below minimum wage.
Well, paying attention. This is weird. All right, I think we can do it.
The next step from thinking that you can do it is that you find you just did it. While you were thinking, you did it. That, of course, is the true rehabilitation, and that's the change of the cycle from a vicious cycle to a virtuous cycle.
This is what it's all about.
That's right. See, you get out and explore.
This is called the discovery method.
Discovery orientation?
Yep.
My next experience in the subway was maybe 3 or 4 months later, but I was that more comfortable and confident about it.
I think this is a cheesecake factory right here.
You think so?
Yep.
What do you do?
That was something that was totally new to me, but I learned. You have to get to a point where you stop blaming, you stop being angry, you stop being bitter, and you stop succumbing to people's perceptions about blindness, and get to that point where this is what I have to live with. But if this is what I have to live with, I'm going to live with it in a manner that I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I'm living the most complete life that I can.
Look, so you're blind? Sure, you've got, it can be a nuisance sometimes, it can be a frustration sometimes, but that's all that it has to be if you've had the right kind of training. The bottom line is that you need to come to believe in yourself as a person, and you have to come to understand that I'm simply a normal person. I happen not to be able to see.
Gotta go, guys. Whoops. Flight's at noon. Gotta go to sea.
And it's a ways.
This way, Catrella. Well, I thought we were going the opposite way. Let's go.
The key is that we have full belief in what we can do as blind people to become very good role models for the students that we work with, and they pick up on that immediately. We're there to say, you can do this, and we're going to show you that you can. We're blind also, and we can all do it, and we'll do it together, and you'll learn from that.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm there for you.
As blind people, growing up, oftentimes people want to give to us. Give to the blind, give to the blind. Well, we want to teach, you're blind, but you know what? You can give to others.
It's great to sit around in a society like ours and say, I've got rights. Rights are cool, and everybody ought to have them, but responsibilities are cool too, and everybody ought to have those. If you get somebody who's trained in that way, then you have done your best to empower a blind person.
All of what we do must be in support of helping society reshape its thinking about blindness and helping one another as blind people free ourselves from those same limited assumptions.
Let's see. You're in 11D, Ms. Martin.
Thank you.
The slogan of the blind movement over the last 10 years or so is one that should have been with them all along. We are changing what it means to be blind. We are changing what it means to be blind, and we are the blind.
This is 33.
I was a child who was never expected to light a candle. It's not I learned only how to travel with a white cane or how to cook, anything like that. It's not just lighting a physical candle, lighting a candle of life, where I'm making my life every day brighter and brighter.
Dedicated in memory of Dr. Floyd Matson. August 31, 1921, to April 7, 2008. To light a candle. Empowering the blind. Produced by Mark Miller. Copyright 2008, Mark Miller and I-55 Films.